Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Streamed and Screened, an entertainment podcast about movies and TV from Lee Enterprises. I'm Terry Lipshetz, managing editor of the National Newsroom at Lee, and co-host of the program with Bruce Miller, a longtime entertainment reporter. We're in the middle of summer. I'm back from vacation, and there's so much going on right now. We have so many shows premiering on streaming, and you have previews that you've been checking out. There's just a lot going on.
And I had a power outage. Lightning struck my cable cords and everything.
Oh, no.
So I was down, no internet for 3 days. And if you've ever been crippled like that, you know what it's like. And
Yes.
it's terrible. So I realized that everything runs off the internet. And if I'm going to be a terrorist, that's what I have to do, is just cripple the internet.
Right.
Because I can do anything.
Yeah. I mean, the if you think about it, I don't know what you have in your house, but besides, the internet powering things like my computer and smart TVs and things like that, I've got the Roomba vacuum cleaner going on, the iRobot or whatever it's called. I've got my washer and dryer. Now I can operate my washer and dryer separately, but that's on the internet. So I know, like, I get a message when everything is, the washing cycle's done or the drying. Yeah, I mean, I have my my garage door is operated on it, so I can power that from my phone. I've got, the thermostat, so much going on.
I've got all of it. And you think, how do I get out of the garage? The garage door doesn't open and I can't manually do it.
I
you
know.
know? So
Yeah.
anyway, I'm back. The last thing I saw was Camp Rock 3. Which,
Okay.
if you're not familiar, is the Jonas Brothers We Go to Camp series that they did, or films that they did quite a while ago. And now they're rebooting it because they're able to bring out a new crowd of kids. Those new kids will be figuring into the new Mickey Mouse Club, which I didn't realize they were doing.
Wow.
But
That thing's been going on forever.
yeah. So there, once you get rid of that Ryan Gosling and that Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears and those ne'er-do-wells, you could have a good club.
That's right.
So
Wow.
so I've been watching a lot. And also, did you see the first episode of Ted Lasso?
Yes, I did.
Okay, you're a Ted Lasso fan, so
I
let's hear.
am. So I'm mildly concerned about this season. The show, I love Ted Lasso, but it that first season of Ted Lasso was amazing, and I thought they kind of ticked a little bit downward from there, but I always enjoyed watching it. One episode in, like, I don't hate it or anything, but it feels like maybe we should have just ended it where we were and not come back again. But they've made decisions. I don't know. What your thoughts?
I thought it was really difficult for them to get the people here.
Yeah.
Because they're coming over the United States to try and encourage him to do something else. And you think, did we need everybody to show up and twist an arm? Just send a free ticket and come back over.
Yeah. I did find it funny, though, that they didn't, it's like Kansas City. We're in Kansas. No, we're in Missouri.
Yeah.
Because there's 2 Kansas cities.
Barbecue.
Yep. And she kept on spilling her barbecue on her shirt.
I wanted to say, can we not put a napkin on you?
Yeah.
Can I put a bib? There must be a bib somewhere. But it was interesting to see them. But it seemed like this was one of those TV movies that they made years ago when it's like, Return to Mayberry. And you go, oh, that's how they look now. And what are they doing? I don't know what they're doing.
Right. I still, there's been so many shows that have rebooted, and I don't even know, is this it's not like the show's been off for that many years, right? It's been 2 or 3 years. So it's, I don't know if I'd classify it as a true reboot, but there's been so many shows that have rebooted over the years, right? You like Full House went off the air and then they brought it back, and it's just like, we didn't really need that. And to me, the only show that's actually worked as a reboot is because it was mocking itself in a sense, was Seinfeld, when they brought it back as part of Curb Your Enthusiasm, because it was a show within a show and they were sort of poking fun at it. So to me,
that was a one-off. It was
right. So it was sort of like the proper way to do a true reboot. But you think back to like Murphy Brown. Remember when they rebooted that? That was a hot mess. The X-Files kind of got it right for the first they did like 2 seasons of a reboot, and they did one where it worked, and I was like, "All right, that's pretty good," and then they brought it back again, and it's, ugh, this is just
Do you
not
know what?
good.
I like the premise. Do you remember Blackadder? Does that ring a bell?
It does not, no.
Okay, it was a series that and, Daniel Radcliffe did one recently, and I can't think of the name of it, but where every season was a different era. So,
Okay.
Blackadder would be like the 1800s this year, and next year it's gonna be the whatever, 1940.
Alright.
Um, and I think yeah, and you could use the same actors and just put them in a different place, and they still kind of fell into those same, roles,
Mhm.
but it was a different concept, and I think that might have worked with this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm only 1 episode in.
Yeah, and they're real stingy about it, aren't they?
Yeah, they
Oh,
are.
come on.
I gotta wait a whole week. That's like back in the olden days of having to watch a show once a week, right? I'm
Okay,
I'm
get ready
binging.
because I'll hold a sec because I wanna ask you some more questions, but
Okay.
everything old is new again, and that's what
Uh,
the all TV is gonna be like, but, well, that's a spoiler. You also got to see a movie I wanna see in IMAX.
yes, The Odyssey. The
How
Odyssey.
was it? Was it worth the IMAX experience?
Yes. Yes. I mean, he
You're not
filmed it.
helping Terry,
You need to travel. Where's the nearest IMAX to you? How many hours is it?
is it Dallas? I don't know. It's
It's so in Wisconsin, I believe there are only 2 IMAX screens. There's one in Madison, and then one it's in Wauwatosa, which is a suburb of Milwaukee. They're both about 40-45 minutes from my house. They're both operated by AMC. The one in Madison is not, let's just say it's not the nicest AMC
okay.
theater I've attended. So we decided to travel to Tosa, as they call it around here. Nobody says Wauwatosa. You know,
Yeah,
you wouldn't
Tosa.
want to do that. So we traveled to Tosa. And I went with just one of my daughters who really wanted to see it. So we went, brought the popcorn bucket with me, get online. Well, so this is the best part because remember they did away with the bucket, but I still bring it because I like to, bring it home
Right.
with me and throw the lid on and everything. And we get up to the register and it said like, "Hey, I have a popcorn pass and want 2 drinks." And then of course, like this being a bigger AMC, we were able to skip ahead on the line because we were A-listers. And the girl working at the thing had like no clue what the popcorn pass was, and I'm just like, the popcorn pass, this is AMC. And she's like, I'll just charge you for the drinks and refill your bucket for free. So
I don't wanna get in trouble, don't tell anybody.
yeah, so we went, and then of course when we left the theater, because remember, if you pay the refill, you're entitled to a second refill also. So we
Yeah.
so we got it refilled on the way out also. So
Different
I got.
person.
No, same. I think it was the same person. So I
Okay.
just, hey, you know what? Filled the bucket twice. Did not actually pay for popcorn. So I love that theater now. I'm gonna keep going back if that's if they're gonna treat me. Toast is the place to go. But the movie itself, seeing it on the big screen like that was truly amazing. I mean, the sound, um, you really are immersed into the film. I don't know what your experience was like going to just a standard theater, but seeing it, as big as it was on that 70 millimeter screen, um, it was amazing, and we really enjoyed the film. I'll be curious to see where this goes comes award season, but um, it did not disappoint.
Well, it'll come at Christmas, we're getting Dune 3. And I think Dune 3 and this one would probably be in competition, depending on how good that is.
Right. Yeah.
So, and then there could be some independent film that comes up that you go, "Oh my god, this is exactly." There's that Social
Right.
Network,
Yeah.
sequel.
Yep. There's always a
You know
spoiler.
yeah. But, okay, well, did it how big is the screen? Is it huge?
Yeah. It's. Have you ever been to an IMAX at
Okay.
all?
Yeah, yeah, but some are kinda rounded, and then some are
Oh.
basically a big screen with a long picture.
Yeah, no, it's huge. It was a huge theater, and And it was also like discount Tuesday, so we were by far the youngest people in the theater.
Oh,
When
with
you
the
when
free
you go
bucks?
early, yeah, when you go at noon on a Tuesday,
Yeah.
you're definitely, if you're under the age 50 or below, you're definitely among the few.
So that's
It's
a tip for those who are going to Tosa.
right, right. Well, I think my grandfather, before he passed, every Tuesday he was out at a movie, so somewhere, not Tosa, but yeah, it was. But no, it's a huge. It was huge theater, big screen. The number of speakers. I mean, because you could see the speakers in the corners and off to the side, and you could just feel the floor shake
Oh, wow.
at different times. And I thought, like, that fine. I don't want to give away anything to the movie. I mean, obviously, it's not like this isn't some big mystery because probably anybody that went to a high school English class at some point read the Odyssey, so you probably have a sense of what's going to happen anyway.
Or the
But
clip notes.
right, or the Cliff's Notes, right? But that ending scene where they're kind of fighting and the soundtrack. I don't know who scored the film, but it was the room was shaking and it was
Wow.
intense. Yeah.
Well, then I might put that on my bucket list to go see the IMAX version of
Yeah.
The Odyssey. Very
Yeah.
good.
You might have to. It's definitely
Yeah.
worth it if you can get
Okay,
there.
but then you also finished off, some series, right?
Yeah, House of the Dragon. Oh my. This may Well, yeah, so this is for those not familiar, House of the Dragon, which of course is a prequel to Game of Thrones. This was the third season out of four. So now we have to wait until summer 2028 to wrap things up. But they have that other series that they premiered this year that'll come back next year for a second season. So we'll get a little bit of Game of Thrones in between. But I think that this season three is the best season so far. I mean, there was no slowness in this. It was like every episode, every minute, you're just edge of the seat. What's going to happen next? Like people dying that you don't expect to die. I mean, Game of Thrones is long established that no character's off limits, right? For being killed or losing a limb or whatever. But it kind of ends um
They're all dead.
they're they're all dead. Um I want to say, like, again, I don't want to give away too much, but there's some similarities to the ending of season three, to the ending of the final episode of Game of Thrones. Similarities, not the same, but it's like, Targaryens kind of like, let's just say history repeats itself with the
Yeah.
Targaryens. Good intentions, right? We want to rule peacefully, but sometimes you got to compromise a little bit to reach your goals. And it's setting things up for just a tremendous final season. I'm like, it's hard for a show to end like this because I know I got to wait 2 years. It's crazy.
No, I hear you. That could be worth waiting for. I spent a day with the NBC. They're doing a different thing. They used to do it all at once, and
Sure.
now it's like one. It seems one every week. There's a network that comes out with their new shows, and they
Yeah.
don't have that many new shows because, like, a lot of these ones are doing wall to wall sports, so they don't
Right.
really need any other kind of things. But they announced shows. NBC is doing a lot of what I consider retro television,
Hmm.
very retro television. They're rebooting the Rockford Files with
Oh
David
wow.
Boreanaz. Okay, but did I need a new Rockford Files? Not necessarily. Um, they're coming with a comedy called Newlyweds, with Timothy Daly and Taya Leone, who
Hmm.
I guess are a couple. So there you go.
Okay.
But uh, Jamie Lee Curtis is a producer on it, and she's also in it. And she says, we need to get away from these kind of series that don't really make you laugh. And I'm thinking, well, you were on The Bear. Why didn't you say speak up while you were there? But
It's a comedy that doesn't make you laugh.
yeah, she says, working in front of an audience gives us such energy, and it's, I get it. You're selling it. You're a producer,
right.
but it sounds like one of those old 60s, 70s, 80s sitcoms where and then we pause for the laugh and the audience goes wild in the stands and then we pick up again.
Yeah.
You see what you will. Then there's a thing called Line of Fire, which is exactly Bloods, where it's a family that has all these kind of jobs in different parts of government. And do I need that? I don't know. Then for the Peacock people, they're
Mhm.
doing Crystal Lake, which is a prequel, not unlike Bates Motel, um, to Friday the 13th.
Okay.
So you get to figure out what is the deal with this Voorhees kid. Um, and I don't know, you know.
He's like
So
burning ants with the magnifying glass, and then he goes
yeah,
psycho
it's
killer.
a retread. So we'll see what happens with all these new shows. But we're just in it now. But I think everything old is new again, and I think the reason for that is because your audience is so specific.
No.
Older people,
Yes.
and people who can't afford all those premium services are
Yes.
watching,
Right.
so they're going to network television. And for better or worse, it doesn't matter. But I think they're not trying to compete with the Netflixes and the Hulus and the whatevers.
Right.
Um, they're letting them have it. They are going to have all these shows that are one and done. They're not like there's a plot that carries through 7 episodes or whatever. No, it's one and
No.
done, and we're out of here.
Right. Yeah. It was in the back of my mind, and I didn't want to say it, but you said it first. But it just feels like this is where network TV is going. It's for the older viewer who is still kind of
Can't work the remote.
can't well, it's either that or just there's certain expectations, right? They've been doing certain things a certain way for a very, very long time, and they just want to watch, Wheel and Jeopardy, and then, a series of shows starting at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m., depending on where they are in the nation on which time zone.
It's
And
comforting.
then, right. And then, clock out with the evening news and be done. And which is fine. I mean, if that's what you want to do, that's completely fine. But, you look at where all the best programming is these days. It's not from NBC or CBS or ABC, although some of those networks may be involved in it because they're producing things for Peacock or Hulu or wherever, Paramount Plus. And so that's where the really good programming that they're investing dollars into, those shows are heading there to the streaming platforms. And if you can handle it, that's great. I mean, my mom is on streaming. I mean, she pays me like $9 a month to get the um when they started cracking down on Netflix,
The
share
bootlegs.
right, so they started cracking down. So they have that add-on, which is basically for your extended family member, whether it's a kid at college or your parents, piggybacking off of their adult children's accounts. And so she watches her Netflix and all that, and which is great. And but just some folks that, like, I know my in-laws, they were pretty much hardcore, just watching network TV, and they had like a very basic cable subscription, but I don't think they had Netflix or
No.
anything like that. No.
Well, and when you talk to and hey, I'm part of that bunch, so I'm not dissing anything, but you talk to them about the shows and they only talk about network shows. They
Right.
don't, oh, I just loved and then fill in the blank of some Apple TV
Right.
surprise, they don't.
No.
Um, and they're not interested in finding out about it because you say, well, the Burrows, you might be interested in it because it's about seniors who are at this place that might be
Yeah,
run by aliens. I don't know.
something.
I'm not watching that crap. Then you're stuck with that, and then they never finish the shows, and you don't know where it's going. And is there another? They have excuses, but they like the. I think it's there's an end,
Right.
and too much of this open ended stuff. After you get a certain age, you start thinking, I'm never going to see the end of this series.
Right.
I'll be dead before they finish this thing off. But yeah, so it's fascinating, but that was my takeaway from this first one is that we're going retro, and people don't seem to mind. And they say they want the comfort.
Sure.
So
Yeah. And hey, if there's an audience for it, then it works, right? It doesn't have to be for everyone. They just need to make their money back. They need the advertising. If the advertising dollars are there to keep the show going and all that, that's great. That's great.
you remember the year it was a writer's strike, and they were able to use old scripts,
Mhm.
and then they would film new editions, but they couldn't change the words at all. They
Right.
just had to the actors would have to do what the old script said. And
Yeah.
it's like, well, did we learn a lesson from this? I don't
Yeah.
know if we did.
Yeah. This summer I was a Nielsen participant.
Did you get $5?
I did. I did. I was a little disappointed. It was the second time I've ever done the Nielsen's, and when I did it years ago, they sent me a log, and I had to fill it in and all that
Yeah.
stuff, right?
PBS.
Yeah,
PBS.
right. Um, but this year, they sent me the initial mailer. And pro tip for anybody who's ever seen the Nielsen flyer come in and just go, I don't want to do that and throw it away. Don't throw it away. Open it up. There's cash inside.
There's money there.
There's money
Yeah.
there. So, they send you that initial one. You open it up and there's like $2 in it, right? It's not much. But hey, get you a pack of gum or something, right? So I opened it up, got my $2, and then I just filled out the questionnaire and sent it back in. And I can't even remember what they asked me. I think it was asking like what type of show or what type of platforms you use. I think it was aimed a little bit more at streaming to see what I typically watch. And then they sent me a thank you note in the mail a few weeks later, and there's a $5 bill in there, and
And they're
that was
brand
it.
new. That's what's so
Yeah,
cool.
I know.
Um,
Crispy, so crispy.
in the old days, you had to write down every hour what you were watching.
Right, right. That's what I had to do the last time, and I got more than $5, like
Yeah,
10,
and
but
then they would and that was a lot of money back
it
then.
was, yeah,
But you had to put on also what things you like watching. There was
right,
like a list that you had to make so that
yeah,
then you could get those kind of favorite shows. Maybe they weren't on the week that you were logging things.
right,
Or maybe there was it's a rerun and you watched a special, so it could be jimmied a little bit in terms of your responses. But
right.
I've done it a number of times and I don't know where this goes.
Yeah. Well, the thing now too is a lot of your smart TVs, and then of course if you're using streaming apps like Netflix or Hulu or YouTube TV or whatever, a lot of times in it, if you go like digging into your settings, you're defaulted either to opting in or opting out to Nielsen, right? So I think the olden days, like, I remember taking a college course in TV as part of my communication studies. And even at the time, the professor was talking about either they would send you a paper log where you had to fill it in, or you might get a set top device that would plug in
Right.
to your TV, and it would be able to tell what
It
you
would
were
bring you
watching.
yeah.
Right. So you wouldn't have to necessarily fill out the log. But a lot of that information now is automated through, just because it can tell your viewer, as long as you're logged into something, whether it's YouTube TV or Netflix or Hulu or Paramount Plus, they can tell who's watching. So it kind of negates the need for the personalized logs like it used to. But I think it's still a fascinating look. I know when I had to do the one a few years ago, it was more than a few years ago at this point. Um, it must have been near the end of kind of like their traditional way of doing it, because I remember reading the instructions and I had a hard time following it because it's like, well, they wanted you to just record what you watched during live TV, right? But I didn't watch any live TV. I mean, I was either I wasn't using the streaming services like I was, but I was still subscribed to more traditional cable. So I was either using Spectrum or, like the AT&T uh, thing that they had. I can't remember what it was called at the time. And like a DVR'd everything. And it's just like, well, I know they didn't want it, but I would just mark it down like, watch such and such off the DVR, watch such. And I know that's not what they wanted. They wanted what I was watching live, but I didn't watch anything live. And that's, I either would have sent them back a blank book. And I think that's probably where they pivoted sometime after that.
Yeah, I don't know that they would get a good beat on what you look at it now and you wonder when these ratings, how did
Right.
that show even get up there? It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And I do wonder sometimes also like how shows, cuz you look at like the Burrows, right? There's a show that it sort of did okay. It got generally favorable reviews, but they decided not to renew it for a second season. They just called it a limited series, right? But it also, based on when it premiered, came out kind of at a weird time in the spring,
Right.
right? So are people inside or outside? I went back and watched it this summer, but by the time I watched it, the decision had already been made that they're not going to renew it. So, it's kind of interesting in this time where people are either binging or time shifting or choosing when they're going to watch it. Like The Bear, right? The final season of The Bear dropped how long ago now, right? It's been several weeks. I
Right.
finally just started watching it because I've just been so busy or on vacation or watching other things that I'm just finally getting caught up to The Bear right now. So, like if they
You like it.
right, but it's one of those things where if there's more people like me who can't necessarily watch something right away, the executives are making decisions about futures of things, like, based on people who are watching things immediately, and that's not always the case now.
Yeah, well, or if they have a huge hit, it's
Right,
always a surprise.
right,
"Oh my god, this is a surprise." Well,
right, right,
so I think and, if depending on who's in charge of the network, they don't wanna rock the boat right away in their tenure because they know they could be out. So the idea of going with tried and traditional is a safe move so
right.
that they're not getting ousted after their first year of office.
Yep, yep,
Just
absolutely.
but it'll
Yep,
be interesting. We're there. I'm there for it. We'll see. I think there are 2 new shows on CBS coming, and, yeah, so, well, I'm crossing my fingers, but I do think it's kinda strange that they'll dump something that seems to be doing well, and then why not just stick with it until you find something better?
right.
Or go to Kansas like Ted Lasso.
Exactly, exactly. So, a lot to come. We're kinda weeks away now from the fall season. The Labor Day holiday is within distance, and
We
not
have the
long after
Emmys.
that, Emmys are
We have
coming up,
Yep,
right?
yep. And I'm going to see Jesus at some point. So,
Okay.
that's
There you
called a spoiler right there,
all
right?
right, all right, all right. Well, I'm glad. I hope you find Jesus.
I do
So,
too.
yes, very good. Well, on that note, thank you for listening, and we'll be back again next week with another episode of Streamed and Screen.